Good morning, everybody. Let's get started. How's everybody doing this morning? Friday? Yay! By show of hands, can I see who's here for the first time? All right, awesome. Okay. Well, today we're going to go through our training, our inventory training, teach you how to do the scanning, the downloading of the files, and all that good stuff. My name is Suhey Aguilar, and I work with Central Purchasing and Central Property. We have Mike from Property Accounting, and he deals with the federal, state, private side of the items and transfers and things like that. He'll give you a little bit more information. Also working in conjunction with Financial Systems Administration. Shane Haley is here with us, and if you can introduce us to your group.
Sure. We have Diane Madrid in the back. She's the director of FSA. We have Ray. He's our phenomenal tech unofficial producer today.
And we also have some people in the internet world out there listening to us. So from time to time, we might stop and answer their questions. Or if you have a question here, if you can speak loud. If not, we'll repeat the question so they can hear us. Okie dokie. As everybody got an email with our new schedule, just to let you know, the PowerPoint presentation is on our property website, so you'll be able to look at that. We also have a specific link for these dates. So, of course, we started our inventory process on Monday. We had a training. The system was available at that time for you to start uploading files to it. We're hoping that everybody will have at least the first scan by November 7th. That way we can check on our side and see that there is life out there. So if you can make an attempt at least to have the first scan. Now we do have a shorter timeline this time around. We will be reporting statuses to University Admin Council on December 1st. And this will tell us what percentage each department is at on the inventory. And our deadline for completing inventory is January 31st. Okay, so that is a big change from the previous years. So it's a little bit shorter timeline, but then that way hopefully it won't drag for months and months. So please keep in mind the new deadline. We will be sending out reminders as it gets close to that date, even possible daily reminders, and normally those go to deans and VPs to keep them in the loop. Okay, so just to let you know on that. Questions on the timeline? No? Okay, well, we're gonna get right into business, and I'm gonna hand it over to Shane so he can tell us what we need to do.
All right. So I could start off with a joke before we get to the technical stuff. And I told this one on Monday, so if for some reason you were here on Monday and you just really wanted to come back, I apologize. So a programmer's wife told him to go to the store for some sausages, and she said, if there's brown eggs, then get 12. So the programmer goes to the store, they had brown eggs, so he got 12 sausages. So how scanning works. There's basically 3 components to scanning. Of course, the scanner, your PC, and then the system, so uploading it to the system. It does require Windows Mobile Device Center, which you all should have a guide out in front of you. They're kind of scattered, so if you don't, just look around. I think Ray was making sure everyone had one. But on page 3, this is also detailed on the guide. And if you're online on the GoToMeeting, you can go to property.nmsu.edu. And underneath the inventory training, there's a PDF of this guide. So if you want to follow along. But you do have to have Windows Mobile Device Center. Usually it's more than likely you all have it, but if not, refer to this. If you have any issues, get with whoever actually does your IT support, and they should be able to help you out. So instructions on scanning. Again, you can follow along on the guide. This will start on page 5. Of course, the first step is turn on the scanner. It should take you to the form. If not, this lays out how to get there. It's in Start menu, Programs, Tracer Plus 7, and then you'll click on the form. And then of course you'll tap in the username field. It does have a keypad, the scanner. I have one right here. Similar to like an old phone or something. So, and it has a blue button on there, and that's how you switch between numerical characters and actual letters. So you'd enter your username right here in this field. And again, this is on page 6, and it's very detailed as to what to enter where. But you'd enter the username here, your username. And then you click in here and you scan the door barcode and the room you're at. It should usually be right there by the doorway. And then you would just click in your item field here, and then you could scan your items. You can scan one after the other. As soon as you scan an item, it should show in here, scan accepted, and it'll show the barcode. So you just move on to the next item. When you're done with the room, you just tap New Room, and then go to the next room and repeat the process. So you scan the door barcode again and scan your items. And that's on page 7 of your guide here. So the next step, and it's in the guide, you need to export the file. It's on page 7, and I'll show you that here in a little bit too. But it would be under File, and then you'd hit Export, and that basically finalizes it so you can move the file to your PC. So, which brings us to syncing. You all should have a cradle. So when you need to move the file over to your PC, you put the scanner in the cradle. It'll sync up with Windows Mobile Device Center, and I'm going to show you all this, but it's also in your guide here on page 9 and 10. So that'll allow you to communicate with the scanner, and you can pull out the file to bring it down to your PC. Very important that you rename the file. It has a standard name that it'll use. The system does check that when you upload a file that the name is unique. So it's good to do just department dash your initials and then a number, because more than likely you may be uploading several files. So and then to upload, you would actually go to our system, inventory.nmsu.edu, and click, there's an upload scan files button. And that should be 16 of your guide. And so I'll go ahead and I'll do a quick demonstration here. So I've already scanned the door barcode over there and entered my username. So I'm just going to scan another scanner here that has a barcode. And then I'll just bring it over to my cradle here. You can see it's connecting here on the Windows Mobile Device Center. Okay. So you can just click Connect without setting up your device here. And then you can go to File Management here and browse the contents of your device. And it'll bring you right to the device. You'll notice we're just in the standard folder structure for Windows. So the device is actually here. This is another way you can get to it. So you go into the backslash there, and then you go to My Documents, and you'll go to Tracer Plus 7 and Data, and then Export it. Oh, and I forgot a step. Forgot to export the file. So let me do that real quick.
But this is what can be done if you forget going through those steps. So, help you out.
Yeah, definitely don't want to do that. And I think this on page 13 of your guide. So I know it's be a little confusing getting down to that folder where the file will be. So this will probably come in really handy. So again, we're going to go to backslash here, My Documents, Tracer Plus 7, Data, and then export it. And there we go. So there's the file. So I recommend to avoid any issues that you just take this file down to your PC right away and delete it. The reason I say that is the system will detect if somebody's tampered with a file or if it's a file from last year. Now, granted, with the maintenance that we had everybody do bring their scanners to us, that actually cleared your scanners, so there shouldn't be any files from last year, but just to be safe, I'd move the file off the scanner right away because I know some departments share scanners. So if you get a scanner from somebody and they left their file on there and they altered the file, or it's a file from last year for whatever reason, and you do all your scanning and then you try to upload that file, the system's going to reject it and you'll have to do all your scanning again. So very important, right away, just get the file off the scanner. And I would even check before you start scanning that there's not a file on there if you are sharing scanners. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this one. So at this point, you'd go to inventory.nmsu.edu. I'm going to use our development server so I can actually upload the file so you all can see what that looks like. So you go to upload scan files right here. And then you'll click browse. And then you'll select the file that you just exported and renamed. And then click upload. And you'll see a message that file was successfully uploaded. Again, if for any reason you tampered with the file or there was some other error, it'll tell you right here.
Now, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Sometimes you scan things that are not NMSU. There's a lot of equipment, especially like in our department, has it was transferred from Sandia Labs or whatever, and they have barcodes and people don't know about it. You scan it, right? And that goes into the scan. Sometimes it picks it up, or it used to. And if it doesn't upload the file because you have those files in there, what do we do? Because we can, in the past, when we used to have those tricorders, the old ones, you could just see, oh, this file shouldn't be here. You could just delete it. Now you cannot do that with these files. So if that's the case, who do we go to so we don't lose that data?
Contact us. That way you don't get yourself in trouble by messing with the file.
Okay.
And we'll have to see what we can do about that. The system is designed, of course, to upload NMSU inventory. So, like we wouldn't want to build it to upload inventory from elsewhere. So it wouldn't really make sense. But like I said, just get in contact with us. Don't mess with the file, and we'll see what we can do at that point.
Errors? I mean, if you tried to upload that, because our system on the
Okay. I had a problem last year with a file like that, and there was no files in there. We're not supposed to be there. No, it's probably the problem, and then that's when I found out about you can't mess with the file.
Yeah, the only possible issue I would see is the length. There's probably a length restriction on the barcode. So if it was a long barcode, that could have probably thrown it out. So, but yeah, if it was the same size, I don't anticipate you having any issues.
Because the recommendation is that you scan everything in the room, because we found out that some departments find missing equipment, or somebody moved it, it belongs to neighbor or something. So we do recommend that you scan everything.
Yes.
Does the scanner only make one file, and that's why you need to delete it or make sure there's not another file on there?
Yeah, so the question, if you're on the WebEx, is does the scanner only make one file? And yes, that's correct. Yeah, it only does one file. So now, if you were to rename that file, then yeah, it would create another one, but you just run into all kinds of issues there. Like I said, best practice, get it off there. So that way you save yourself some possible heartache later. Yes. No. So the question is, how do you get the file off the scanner? You can do it several ways. I'm just going to go back to where the file would exist. So I've already removed it, but I'll put it back on there. So what I did was I just dragged it to my desktop, and then I right-clicked and deleted it. That's one way. You could also right-click, cut, and paste. That should get rid of it too. But you know what? If you're copying, cutting, or moving, I would always just double check that it's gone, and if it's not, just right-click and delete. So you might, you just potentially you might run into issues where it copies it down but doesn't delete it for whatever reason. So just your final check should be: is it still on there? Okay, I'll delete it now. So. And on pages 19 and 20, it does kind of go over some errors you might see when uploading a file. I just wanted to go over some of the reporting real quick. So if you go to page 22, it'll walk through what I'm going to show you here. So if we go to inventory report detail, and then you click whichever org you want to look at, whichever department. I'm just going to use my department, Financial Systems Administration. You can leave these boxes alone. Just click Submit down here. So this is actually going to come up with the inventory for FSA and what's been scanned, what's had an ICR process. So you have to be an Internet Explorer for this to work. And there is some caveats. I know sometimes if your IT support has security settings in place a certain way, you may not always see this button. It does use ActiveX functionality, which I've encountered at least one department that was blocking that. So, But anyways, if you're in Internet Explorer, you should see this button, and when you click it, it'll export that to Excel, that report. If you don't see the button, one of the things you can try is right-clicking, and you may have this option, export to Microsoft Excel. So worst case scenario, you can copy everything from here, and it should paste nicely into Excel. So it is an HTML table, so it'll translate to Excel.
It only works with what supports Safari?
That's correct. It's actual Microsoft functionality that it's using. So. But you could try, like I said, to copy and paste if you're using Safari. Very important too, you need to, when you're logging into the system, do ACN / and then your username. Otherwise, if you just enter your username, it's not going to work. So, again, this is just going through what I showed you as far as moving the file off of the scanner and uploading. Scan file integrity. I know I've hit on it twice, but I'll hit on it one more time because it's very important. Very important that you don't tamper with the files. If for some reason you take the file off the scanner and try to upload it, if you have an issue, contact us and we'll help you out. If you get in there and start messing with the files, you know, you're probably going to have to rescan everything again.
So what's the number to contact you?
Yeah, it's at the be at the last page.
Okay.
Yeah, page 31. You can also send us an email or go to bfhrtech.nmsu.edu and you can submit a work order through there. Sure. This one? That should be on page 17 of your guide. It details using your AC. All right. On page 17. Oh, she wanted to look at the about entering your username.
And we have the presentation on our property website, which is property.nmsu.edu. So the PowerPoint is there, the documentation, you'll be able to reference it back.
And as far as this particular slide, it's on page 21 about reporting. So it gets much more detailed, kind of like what I showed you. One last thing I need to hit on is the outside barcode. So if you have inventory that's located outside, such as vehicles, there is a barcode you can use. It's on the property.nmsu.edu website. So you would use that as your location because you can't scan or outside. Scan, obviously. Yes. Yeah, you'd have to, I mean, the question is, what do you do if you have property at remote sites and somebody's that would be able to scan it is on vacation or on sabbatical?
Usually what we advise is that either you get the scanner to that person or the item to the scanner because truly when you have an exception to scan, it's truly if it's out in, I don't know, I always use that, in Antarctica or up on a, mountain mountain or something. So the best thing is to make arrangements, like have it delivered to the department to scan it, or have the scanner delivered to them.
I mean, like take a picture of it and then scan it.
No, the question is if they can take a picture of the barcode, and the answer is no.
So
Should
that
be.
process is not longer. Take a picture, like, off-site, you take a picture of the barcode. So there's a form that you fill out also. Yeah.
The question is if that's not the process anymore. The exception to scan form is for those items that truly you cannot scan. Like I said, if it's up in the mountain and nobody can get up there, or somewhere else, but everything should be scanned. Another question? The question is, what if they're in another state? Can you arrange for them to send it to you, or you send the scanner?
Can you mail the scanner? We might be able to look. Because, even if they're out of state, it's still whoever's in the office responsibility to make sure that all of NMSU equipment is getting scanned. If they're on sabbatical or in a different state, they'll have to get verified consistent by state law and have to. So, please make sure and work with us on the exception. If guys, download, but you guys help them, that's that.
So
No, that's not, no, let me explain that. It's two different. So someone on sabbatical, somebody who doesn't want to bring their laptop in from because much effort, that is not a qualified instance. That is the exception to scans. Exception scans are still valid things. So there's occasionally you have to put equipment up on power, very difficult to scan. But take a picture and say, look, this piece of equipment still exists. I haven't lost it. Take a picture, fill out exception scan. But if you are putting somebody's laptop because they're out of state on an exception scan, that office, property office, that is not a valid exception. But an exception scan is still a valid situation, but you have to ensure qualifies for that. Claim on what they are. But somebody that's not bringing in their device and we're not talking to us about that is not valid. Does that make sense? It is a state law that we have to get. I know it's difficult for you guys to know that.
Sorry, one minute. Again, for the people online, only use the exception to scan form if you absolutely have to. Again, if you can mail the scanner, or if you're having issues, contact property or FSA. We'll see if we can work with you to loan a scanner or something so we can get that item scanned, just because by law that's what we're supposed to do. So, if it's truly an item that nobody can get to, then that's when you use the exception to scan form. And you would take a picture to accompany the form in that scenario.
Any other questions on that?
Yeah, we have one piece of equipment that's over the Middle East, and you run it back. Fine, is it on the scanner? Is the scan on the scanner? Did we remove it?
Yeah, it probably got removed.
Got removed if you brought it in.
Yeah.
So they brought it in the summer. Can you work with us on that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can say that. Someone notified us. If you had notified us, we would have reserved it. Or we did the make. Yeah, those exceptions are important, and that was exactly the right thing to do. They were here in the summer, scanned it, so you could have that scan. So that would have been perfect had you notified us. So, but you know, work with us.
Yeah, so again, the question was somebody had an item from the Middle East brought over in the summer and scanned, which that's perfectly fine to do. It would have to be at the start of the new fiscal year, so it would have to be in July because there's a date in the system that checks.
But it was a special question
Yeah.
that we.
Yeah, if you had to bring it in earlier, then we would work with you on that. But so yeah.
There's a question. Lori has a question for off-campus sites, extension offices. How do we do the door scan?
They should have,
Yeah, sure.
all the buildings should have a barcode on the door. If you're missing a barcode on your door, you need to contact facilities and services so they can generate a barcode. But every door should have one
If there's problems.
if there's proper inventory.
Well, no, you're right. All the
One question here.
So for the outside barcode, they have stuff in storage that but so we use the outside, the website that scan.
Yeah, so the question was if somebody has inventory that's in a storage, and they're asking if they can scan the outside barcode for the items in there. And yes, that's correct. You can, if it's not located in an actual NMSU campus building or property building that has barcodes, then yes, you can use that outside barcode.
In the back, we have another question.
There's no part. Contact anyone here or part of the stuff, need for the whole campus to be down at that time. So I had to wait a couple of weeks to get part of it. I don't remember exactly, but I asked if yeah, because we have like backup sheet. Facilities has the name and we have the backup our so I'll talk to facilities and make that we give you like their part sheet backup. But yeah, but what we're supposed to do is submit a work order, facilities system was and that's all. Okay.
So the question was, what do you do if you need door barcodes, and you would submit the request through FS facilities through their AIM system to create a customer request to get those barcodes.
So you can no longer email Brendan?
No, you
Not for the door barcode.
Oh, for door barcode.
Door
Okay.
barcode. Yeah. And if you need a replacement tag for your equipment, send it to NMSU property at nmsu.edu, and then we will work with Brenda to get you a reprinted barcode if it's torn or worn out or something like that. We had another question.
I'm at Young Hall, and our computers that we have in the mount, those ones don't have any barcodes, but there's no barcode on the door. I had to scan all the ones last year that we had prior, that we had already saved and everything else, so I had to get those ones and scan those ones. But the ones that we have in there now, they don't have any barcodes.
So yeah, meaning they'll be tagged there over the amount.
Yeah, because they already been replaced, like new ones. But when I went in there to find out and see, I didn't find any barcodes on the computers. I'm not sure if it's like underneath it. The computer is actually with the tower, and the monitor and the power, they're actually connected. Would the barcode be underneath it, or are they over it? Do you know if they cost over $1,000? I believe they do because we have like 8, and they're already placed. But I don't have a barcode on them.
On the door.
on the door and
On the computer. Okay. So on the door, again, if you contact facilities and services for that, and if you want to send us the information on the computers to the NMSU property at nmsu.edu email, and then we can look at that to see if they meet that criteria for a tag. And if they do, then we'll work with our tagger and get you some tags. Any other questions?
I have a simple question. I think you answered that, but I'm just to double check. So right now, and there is a renovation going on in Get Hall, and a lot of that equipment that was there for chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, it's in our facility and the technology department. So if they're going to go in there and scan stuff to, I guess, their items. If they scan, our items, they're automatically get taken off our list, right? Is that correct?
No.
I have to scan them too. So even
What's going to happen is it'll be as if you scan them.
Okay.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Okay.
Yeah. So
basically, and that's why we suggest that you scan everything that you have in the room, even if it's somebody else's, because the system just wants to know that there's a scan.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are there? Yes.
how many scanners, is there a scanner for every department on campus? I just want to get an idea of how many scanners are for each camera.
Oh, yes. The question is how many scanners are out there. It is around, it's just shy of 30. I think it's like 25, but there are departments that share scanners, so not, it depends on the size of the department.
What did you do that?
I think it's like, yeah, 125. Yeah. That 25 number was in my head.
It's Friday. We're not functioning well today.
Yeah. No, so it depends on the size of the department. Some departments have multiple scanners because they're, bigger. Some departments share scanners because they're smaller. So just depends.
Well, I work through adult education. We're not really getting funded for a program, so would we get our own scanner?
What department are you associated?
Adult.
But who is it under College of Ed?
In the program.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
We're now.
are you from Alamogordo? Okay, so Alamogordo has scanners that they share with the entire campus. And so if manages those, we can put that in stuff.
Okay, well,
Okay, but Alamogordo has a number of them they share. And it should be done.
okay. And one more question.
Yes.
Do we scan only items that have the barcode on the item that have to be over? Scan it?
Again, we recommend you scan any item that has a barcode, an NMSU barcode. Yeah.
Okay.
That, as Suhei was saying, in case there's missing items or whatever that be picked up, and we can address them. So, I'm sorry, who else had a question? Am I making stuff up in your head?
No, I said I think Nancy Montgomery, person
Yes, yeah.
has the scanners, you guys, and then it kind of just what Jay is saying. When he's saying barcode, I think everybody probably knows this, but talking about barcode that says NMSU has the letter U or F or E. There's not just like my Powerade has a barcode.
Right.
We're not just talking about any regular barcode. It's the NMSU property barcode.
That is true, but if it's equipment and it's scanned accidentally, the system is not going to find that you do that. We don't want you to have to look at everything. Say you have 10 things in a row and 8 out of 10 have regular barcodes and there's a different barcode on the last two. We don't want you to have to go to that level of, you just go through and scan. You don't have to worry about looking at that barcode. The system is very forgiving in that way. It's like upload it and ignore anything that is not an actual.
And the reason we say, to scan everything in the room is because a lot of departments will print out their list and just look for those items. So if anything was moved to your area by somebody else, or maybe at one time it was borrowed, never returned. So basically any tag that says New Mexico State University, UFPS, or F, scan it. Even if it's not on your list, and then we can look and see who that belongs to, if it needs to actually be transferred to your department, or if it was a loaner and we need to take it back. So that's why we advise you to scan everything that you have, not just on your list.
We're looking at the where you've been picked up. But it's still showing.
Okay, so the question is, if you print a list of your inventory and there's items on there that you have sent to property and they're on your list, it depends when you printed your list. You can always go back and look in the system and look up that specific item, and it'll say if it's been processed as surplus. If it hasn't, then please send us an email again to nmsuproperty@nmsu.edu with questions. Now keep in mind that the inventory that you're doing is as of June 30th. So anything that was purchased after June 30th of this year is not going to be in the inventory system.
So it's a surplus list.
Correct. The question is if it says surplus on the list, then that means we've already processed it. You don't have to worry about it. It will drop off the list the following fiscal year when we update banner and then re-upload the remainder.
Any other questions?
These are really good questions. Any other questions on that?
Anything online, Ray? No. All right. If you haven't signed in, please do so. That's how I grant you access to the system. So very important, put your name, your email address, and your department. It should be up at the front. Hand it back to Sue. Thank you.
Okay, well, we've gone over a lot of information, really good questions. And I just want to tell everybody, anytime you have a question, feel free to send us an email. I'll repeat it again, nmsuproperty@nmsu.edu. It's best if you send us questions there because there's a couple of people that look at it. So if I happen to be out or somebody else, somebody will answer the question. And just to let you know, Brooke Montoya is back there. She also works with me on Central Property. So you'll be most likely talking to her as well on any questions that you have.
It's NMSU property, yeah, right?
Yes, NMSU property, all one word, at nmsu.edu.
We have a question online. Did anyone ask what if you have an item that doesn't have a tag, such as a new item?
Yes, if you have an item and it's brand new and you haven't gotten a tag for it, send us an email to nmsuproperty@nmsu.edu and we will work with Brenda Moore, our tagger, to see where, because it might be just the timing issue.
Well, it takes a year after they show up in the inventory, right?
Yes. So if you have it there and you just purchased it, you don't have to scan it for this cycle. So anything that was purchased after June 30th will not be on the inventory. It will be in banner and you should have your tag and all that process, but it will not appear on your list.
Again, you don't have. Sorry. Okay, but again, you do not have to worry about separating those things out. You don't have to say, here's my pile that I bought this year, here's all my old stuff. Because you can still scan it, the system doesn't care. We ignore that. We're only matching whatever was in the inventory system up to through June 30. Okay, so you don't have to distinguish those at all.
So you shouldn't have any problems unless it gives you an error, then notify us. Other than that, like Shane said earlier, it could be because it was a very on the barcode and you scan something else. But what will show in the system is when you key in a tag that is just purchased, it'll say it doesn't exist in the system. Okay, so your feed, your upload should go through like nothing. So of course, with all of these statuses on inventory, we have the ICR, the inventory change request, and that is submitted to property, central property, if it's for university items. One of the main things that we have on there and that we kind of changed it up this past year is if you're claiming anything missing, we need a memo to accompany the ICR signed by the dean or VP answering these questions. Because we're trying to, cover ourselves, making sure that we've done everything that we can to find items. As we know, I know they grow legs sometimes, but they don't walk out. So in the past year, we found out that a lot of them, people knew where they were at, somebody had left, or at that point, you need to try to make contact if it's, student, an ex-employee, or someone that's no longer here, and let them know that they need to return it. If they don't return it, then you'll probably have to file a police report because we know where that item is. It's not really missing. Somebody has it. So then that police report will have to be attached to the ICR form.
Okay. So you can find an item, and this happened to me. Okay. There's an oscilloscope missing, and it was like $15,000. Okay, and so it's a big ticket item, right? But it's this big. Okay, and usually it was in the lab. Okay, and then professors move it, right? I mean, I don't do nothing with that equipment. They do it. They go somewhere else. It's not in the room that it was last year, right? But I don't know that because I didn't move it. We have 700 items or more. Okay, so it goes somewhere else, and we can't find it. Okay? And it's not stolen because I don't want to say it's stolen because I don't know that. Somebody, they probably somebody just moved it somewhere else, right? It's somewhere, but it's I wish I could just find it, but you can't. And then you ask around, nobody has seen it. So what do you do? If I do a police report to get it off but most likely it's there somewhere. I just don't know where it is because I don't. You know what I mean?
So one of the first things in the question is, I don't know if online they heard, but is what if you're scanning and an item has been moved and of course you're not aware of it, nobody else is aware of it, you're asking around, you can't find it. What do? So I go back to reiterate that scan everything in all your rooms because then you might find items like that. Also, you need to work with the custodian and the equipment manager because I know some departments will assign a person to do the scanning, but they're not the ones that are the custodian or equipment manager. And that's why we have those in the system because they are responsible for those items. So also check in the system, make sure that the correct person is a custodian and equipment manager, that it's up to date because we do see that a lot, that people leave, people move, and that doesn't get updated. And that can be changed by email, Mike? Property accounting for equipment manager and custodian?
Yep.
Okay, so if you just send them an email, but bottom line is that custodian and equipment manager are responsible. So you need to coordinate with them.
Yeah, but in the case of laboratories, they. I know every item has a place, and it's in the perfect world it should be there. But in the case of they wouldn't know either, because we had this problem. We have 50, 20, 30 oscilloscopes in the lab. Okay, somebody moved it before because professors have access to it, right? But we went to the custodian and the equipment manager and everything. They didn't know. So in that case, is there anything we can do, or just
Basically, you should, our advice to you is to have an internal process where either people are checking it out or letting somebody know because, like Diane said, it's by state law that we have to, account for these items. We can't just go to the state and say, well, somebody moved it, but nobody knows who moved it because, they're tax dollars. So that would be my advice. Diane, I don't know if you want to add.
Right. The other thing is make sure that you are filling out all these questions on the form because, our chancellor, Dr. Crothers, is taking all this very seriously. And all of these things, when it's missing, the deans and department heads are going to be held accountable. They don't want to be on this bad list. And it's okay for you guys to send out an email reminding people if you're going to be moving $10,000 equipment from one place to another, please let me know because I'm trying to hold us accountable and have that audit trail for yourself. Because then when it goes up the chain and they're saying, well, why isn't arts and science or whoever doing what they're supposed to? You have your email that says, you know, I did send this email and we're still ignoring it. Because it's all about accountability. So, you know, I understand your pain.
It's not that I want to not account for something. I do, and that's why I bring the question.
Yeah.
I want to fight it. What
Right.
I'm trying to say is sometimes you just can't. You know,
Right.
Like, I don't
Right,
know.
and as long as you do the best you can and make sure you're filling this information out, because all of this information is getting escalated. And just so you all know, somebody is really looking at it, which is the other reason why the inventory process has shortened. Last year, it became a nightmare and totally ridiculous because people were just putting it off till the last minute. So the administration said, enough. It shouldn't take this long. Other universities do it in less time. That's what we're going to do. So just so you know, it is about accountability. So you're doing everything that you can.
So, you know, like Diane said, you know, we are responsible for this, but as long as you know, try everything and document it, you know, for example, you talk to the custodian, equipment manager, you know, and get this memo and have it signed by your dean or VP, you know, then at least we show some effort. I believe we have a question.
Yes, Jennifer asked, what is the difference between a manager and a custodian? Are they the same person?
No, and I will let Mike explain that.
I learned that I need to come up here because of the microphone. They were shaming me last time. But yeah, so the difference between a custodian and an equipment manager, at a basic level, it's pretty easy. The custodian is the person that uses that equipment. So if it's a personal laptop, well, let me continue and then we can correct what I'm saying. So the equipment manager is the person that's responsible for scanning the items. The custodian typically is one of two people. It's either the person that's using that item, so if it's a computer and it's in my office, I may be the custodian of that. Or in certain departments, it might be the department head. So certain departments like the Department of English might have the department head be the custodian of all the equipment in that department. So it depends on the department, but that's kind of the difference. The equipment manager is responsible for scanning. The custodian is either the person using that or the administrator of the department head, that department.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on that before we continue on? So, like you see, it's very, very important. Like we mentioned earlier, this PowerPoint presentation is on our website, so you'll be able to get these questions. If you have any questions before you fill this out or need anything, you can send us an email. So remember, we still need the ICR and the memo attached to it. Okay, other forms that we have out there for the approval for home off-campus use, that one, property only needs a copy. The original should stay with the department, okay? And this is just so we kind of keep track of what's out there with off-campus. The inventory scan exception form, it's kind of what we touched on before. If it's those items that are up in a tower, out of the moon or something, especially if they're still somewhat visible, you know, or they're part of a tower, you know, we would like for you to include pictures. That way we can still prove that, you know, that item's still there. And then, of course, the inventory certification forms, those will become available in the system once you have hit 100% completed for your department. Then when all the departments, for example, under business college, when they're all done, then another one will be available at that level. We also have the permission to sell form, and this is when you're turning in items to surplus and you want to get a little bit of money back. Keep in mind that we auction it, so we don't get the best money. But we do, especially for vehicles, you know, you're turning it in, you want to replace it, you fill out the permission to sell. You don't need the ICR if, you know, if you fill out the permission to sell. Okay? And this is when the department wants a little bit of money back. But like I said, you know, keep in mind that, you know, it's like eBay, you know, just a few bucks. Do we have questions? No? Okay. Of course, all our forms are in our at our property website and also on the ANF forms page. You can get our forms there. Again, our property website is property.nmsu.edu. For inventory, it's inventory.nmsu.edu.
We'll be uploading video from today on the property site.
So you'll see it out there. So again, the PowerPoint, the outside barcode, the handouts that you have will be on there. And as we're talking about these forms, I'm going to let Mike give us a little bit of information on his side on the federal, state, or private owned items. Thanks.
I brought in an inventory change request, so you guys can just point to the property website or the forms website. You can download these when you need to make certain transfers. The thing to notice on this, it's got two breaks between it, and it has a line that says route to property accounting, and then a line that says route to central property office. So just the first thing is to know that they're two different offices. So I'm in property accounting office, and our email is AFR_property@NMSU. And yes, yeah. So my office this year, and going forward, we're going to do this as well. We did a kind of a big change to update if there was any equipment managers or any custodians that were retired employees or terminated employees. We wanted to get those. So you may have seen emails coming from my office regarding those, or Rosie Presler or Nadine Plant. So we handle updating the custodian and equipment manager names. So if you have somebody in your department that retires or that is that leaves the university for some reason, and if they are the custodian or equipment manager, when you know that, since you're in the department, you can send an email to AFR_property for us to update that in the system. And that'll help us if we do that as it goes during the year. At the end of the year, we're going to always do kind of an update. But if you know about it before us, which you will, you can send us that email. Oh, here's the ICR. Cool. So this is just what I was saying, you know, route to property accounting, route to central property. So depending on what you're doing, it's going to tell you where it's going to go. And if you have multiple items and some of them are going to surplus and some of them are transferring to another department, it's probably recommended to use two different forms, because if you want to just transfer between departments, that's what my office is going to handle. And so you can fill out a form, just complete that middle box, and then route it to AFR_property. And the email's up in the right-hand corner for property accounting. It has both of the emails. So depending on what you're doing, that's going to help guide you on where you're going to send them. And then what Suhei talked about, the stolen, surplus, missing items, all of those are going to route to central property, which is the NMSU property@NMSU email. So for my office, what we do is transfers between departments, and then we handle any items that are not university owned. So those are the items that have an F tag, an S tag, or a P tag, meaning the first letter of the barcode. So those ones originally got tagged with the F, S, or P because a federal, state, or private individual retained the ownership of that item. And so if you have an F, S, or P item and somebody's saying, hey, let's throw this to surplus, you can't just give it to surplus because we tagged it with those letters originally, because somebody else owns it. So if it's NASA, for example, that owns an item that you have, before we can send it to surplus, we need to get permission from NASA and ask them, hey, this is your item you gave us a couple years ago. Do you want it back? um, or can we have it? And so when you have those items, that's where you want to contact my office, and we can help coordinate with these agencies, help determine if it was, in some cases it was incorrectly tagged. It was an item that had an F tag on it, but really it should have just had a U tag. So we can help you work through that to determine if it is something that we can actually dispose through the surplus warehouse. And if that's the case, then you can send the form to me. I'll sign off on it in the property accounting line, and then you can surplus those items by sending it to surplus warehouse and coordinating with Brooke and Sue. So I think that's all I had. The one other thing I remember from last time that we talked about this is if you're going to be transferring to another department, try to do your original scan first. So scan these items for your department, do that upload, and then that will allow us to, it will unlock it in the system so that we can now assign it to the department. If you haven't scanned it yet for this inventory cycle, it will be locked, so we can't actually change the, so you want to do that scan before you transfer any of these items. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
There was a comment online basically saying if you scan the wrong door barcode and then scan an item, that the item would be uploaded to Banner with the new location. Which that's, there's a comment online, somebody saying that when you scan, so for instance, if you're in this room and you were scanning the items in here, and then you went to another room and never scanned the bar door code on the new room, that the items would be uploaded in the Banner with the new location. And that's correct. I mean, that's how the system is built to function. That's how we track when items move from location to location. So there's not really a safeguard we could put in place for that because it would really defeat the purpose.
Yeah, if you notice anything, I think when you're looking at the inventory system, if you see the location, you have a change of location.
They can rescan it, change.
Yeah. It'll take your most recent scan. So if you realize, you know, before you finish scanning that, hey, I never scanned the door barcode, just scan it and rescan the items. So it goes by the latest scan.
Any other questions on that? Yes.
What qualifies as sensitive electronic media on your central property office? What some of that equipment? How do you know?
Any device that can store data like computers, thumb printers, external drives, anything like that. Anything. Because we definitely wipe hard drives at property, the surplus warehouse. So we want to make sure that we are cleaning those, especially if they do have something. Now, of course, most of the time departments like to take off items, but it is the surplus warehouse responsibility to wipe them off. Okay, so you do need to turn in all hard drives. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they're here in Las Cruces, but they have a tower at home. Instead of them bringing it in, they can take a scanner. What
Yes.
barcode?
So the question is, if they're here and it's, you know, you have a piece of equipment on a tower, you can mail out the scanner to them, and they would use the outside barcode. Yeah, and that's available on our website, so they can go in, scan that, and then scan whatever equipment they have on that tower. And the best thing for keeping it separate, like Mike said, on the federal, state, and private, those need prior approval, and they need to go through his office. So even maybe keeping it in two separate ICRs, because the surplus warehouse will not accept items until we've gotten an approval from property accounting, because then that tells us that they worked with the agency to get approval for that. So if you can keep it on 2 separate ICRs, that would help even more. Any other questions for Mike? No? Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, so like I said, all this information is on our property website. For scanning questions or questions with the property system, uploading data, you can contact FSA, and we'll give you the contact information. But if you have issues with your password or you need to change your ACN password, go through ICT. And then anything else with your computer, of course, go through your IT contact. Here's our email. Like I said, don't hesitate if you have any questions. We're more than happy to help you. Send us an email. There's my number. And for FSA, if you send an email to BFHR Tech, that's correct?
Yeah, and you can submit a work order for our website.
So there's the information again if you have any issues. And if all goes, if everything else fails, send us an email to the property, the NMSU property email, and we'll get you some help. We'll route it. If you absolutely can't remember any other, just my email, since I've been repeating it like 20 million times. So hopefully you learned that one. Send us an email and we'll definitely help. A question?
I have a question about the file and how you moved it to desktop. And since I've been scanning, I have several of the files from previous years. Is it okay to delete those from my desktop?
The question is on those files that we download from the scanner to our computer or desktop. Yes, you can. Once it's uploaded, you can delete it. There's no need to keep it. Any other questions? Anything else? No? Well, thank you very much, everybody.
One more
Do
question.
you have another one? Okay.
Question is, what about servers locked behind those blue panels? We have to contact ICT to have the panels unlocked, and we just the ICT scan those servers. Also, they're asking about equipment that maybe you can't get to because it's in a sensitive area. Yeah, I would say if you can, just loan them a scanner to go scan real quick. I think that's what they've done in the past for ICT specifically. So. Break. Okay. Break is Fred. Fred. Our producer says contact Fred.
Any other questions? Okay, this is the real one. Thank you for coming. Hopefully you'll have some fun scanning, and let us know if you have any questions. And everything's online. Have a nice day.